Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Dr. Bradley Nelson, who's here to share with us his new book, The Body Code, Unlocking Your Body's Ability to Heal Itself. So welcome to the show, Dr. Bradley Nelson.
Well, thank you for having me on, Marianne. It's great to be here.
My goodness, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. What is the body code? I mean, this is so fascinating.
Well, the bottom line is that every single person has two minds, really. We have a conscious mind, which is where we spend all of our waking hours and we work our jobs and have our relationships. And when we go to sleep at night, that conscious mind shuts off. And what's left is the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is that incredibly intelligent mind within us that we don't really give too much thought to. But it's that intelligence within us that is creating millions of new cells every minute, that is digesting our food, that's creating new hormones, doing all kinds of countless chemical reactions every split second to keep us alive. And I was a computer programmer back starting in the early 1980s. And when I went to school, and was listening to my instructors talk about the brain and how it really is a computer, I can remember thinking, well, gee, if the brain's a computer, will we ever have the technology to be able to hack into it or access the information that must be in there to help our patients? Because the brain, if it's a computer, it should have that information. Well, it turns out that subconscious mind that we each have within us is where that information actually is. So imagine having some kind of a problem. Imagine having migraine headaches or low back pain, or imagine not being able to conceive a child. Imagine being diagnosed with cancer or some other kind of disease. Imagine if you're dealing with depression or anxiety or phobias or something like that, or panic attacks or PTSD. And imagine that the subconscious mind within you actually knows with a perfect understanding why you are actually dealing with those symptoms. Because those are all symptoms, really. And I came to understand that over the last 35 years as a holistic physician, that when we have some kind of a symptom, of course, Western medicine is geared towards suppressing those symptoms. So if you have pain, you'll get a painkiller, typically to suppress that symptom. And lots of drugs are created to suppress people's symptoms. But what I found was that symptoms are really like the check engine light in your car. If the check engine light comes on, you don't know what's going on with your engine. You know that the indicator is lit up telling you that something is wrong. You need to get some attention to it. And so that's how our bodies are too. So when we have any of these diseases we're diagnosed with, when we have physical pain or some other kind of mental, emotional malfunction, what it really is a check engine light telling us that there's something else going on. So during those years, first of all, I learned how to access that internal computer within my patients. And it made all the difference in the world. The last 10 years that I was in practice, most of the people that I saw had been told that there really was no hope for them at all in Western medicine, that there was nothing that could be done to help them. And yet by accessing this internal computer within each person, I was able to help the vast majority of them, with just a couple of exceptions, to get completely well. So it's really a revolutionary understanding, this understanding that the answers lie within each of us about what we really truly need. I mean, think about it, Marianne. Right now, is it possible that maybe you need a certain supplement? Maybe there's a certain vitamin that you are deficient in, maybe a certain mineral. Maybe you have some kind of an infection going on. Maybe it's a low-grade infection. Maybe it's bacterial or fungal. Maybe you picked up a mold infection somewhere. You might not even know it, but you might not feel all that great. Maybe you have misalignments going on in the body. Maybe you have an organ that's out of alignment, causing maybe some back pain for you. Maybe it's a kidney. Maybe you've got a bone out of alignment in your neck, creating neck pain for you, or maybe migraine headaches. Maybe you have some kind of a toxin. Maybe you had a lot of mercury fillings when you were a kid, and maybe your liver is struggling now, and maybe that's why you have allergies, because maybe the mercury from those fillings is still trying to be dealt with by your body. So there are all of these different underlying causes of things. What the body code is, first of all, it's a book that teaches you all about how the body really truly works and what the underlying causes really can be. But it also is a method of healing, enabling you to find these imbalances and correct them so that you can actually maintain your health or regain your health. And that's physical, mental, and emotional. So it really, these imbalances affect us in all of these different ways. So the body code, it's a book. You can learn how to do the method from the book. It's also, of course, an app that you can use that you can download on the App Store. But that's what the body code is. It really is, it's all the information that I learned during all those years that I was in practice. In fact, I wrote a book called The Emotion Code that came out in 2007. And that book was about getting rid of your emotional baggage, because that's really the single biggest underlying cause of physical pain and all kinds of problems with the body. But about a year later, I woke up one morning and my mind was full of instruction. And this was not from me, but it was from above, really. And the instruction was, you need to take everything that you've learned about natural healing and put it into a self-study course that anyone can learn and make it available to everyone, everywhere. And so that's what we're doing. And that's really what the body code is. Simple.
Well, the way you explain it, yes. And it really breaks it down. It seems like you are really ahead of your time to think of, the human body as working like a computer. But I can understand that analogy, how well that works together, because a lot of times we are just kind of masking these symptoms.
Well, exactly. And, for me, it was a critical part of my training to become a computer programmer, because it enabled me then to have a kind of a platform and a structure to be able to apply to the subconscious mind. It's so interesting. If you think about your laptop, it has an interface, right? You can communicate with it. It has a screen, so you can see things on the screen, and then you can respond to things by using the keyboard. So it's a two-part interface, really, for a laptop or computer. You've got a screen, you got a keyboard. Your phone has a screen, and then you can tap things and icons and communicate. And so that's kind of a touch screen interface. Well, the subconscious mind has an interface too. And that interface is actually a binary interface. Now, what that means is the subconscious mind can only answer questions that can be answered with a yes or a no, because the subconscious mind can answer you through muscle strength or muscle weakness, basically. And so we call this muscle testing. It goes by different names: applied kinesiology, kinesthetic testing, and so on. But here's how this works. For example, if I were there with you, and if you were to hold one arm out parallel to the floor, and if you were to say, my name is Marianne, that is your name, that would be a true statement that you'd be making. If I were to press down on your outstretched arm, you'd be able to resist me, because that would be a true statement and it would be congruent, and your subconscious mind, your internal computer, would know it. Now, on the other hand, if you were to stand there with one arm outstretched parallel to the floor, and if you were to say something that's untrue, like, for example, if you were to say, my name is Jill, if I were to press down at that moment on your outstretched arm, you wouldn't be able to resist me. Your arm would be weak. And that's the nature of this internal computer. It can respond through strength for yes and weakness for no. And so we've devised a bunch of different methods of muscle testing. And it's actually really easy to do. And you can actually test your own body. There's another test that we call the sway test, where if you are holding thoughts of truth or positivity or congruency, your body will tend to sway forward. And that's giving you essentially a yes answer. If you were if you were to hold thoughts of negativity or falsehood or incongruency, your body would tend to sway backward. We call that the sway test. And so there are lots of different ways to get answers from the subconscious mind, but basically that's how it works. It's the body is for purposes of its interface, it's a binary interface. So as long as you're asking questions that can be answered with a yes or a strong muscle test, or a no, a weak muscle test, you can ask any question that you want. So for example, you could ask, do I have a particular nutritional deficiency that needs to be addressed? Maybe that's a yes. Well, in the body code, what we do then is we have a table of nutrients, and you can ask, well, is this nutrient in column A or is it in column B? And you'll get a yes and a no. And then you can ask, is it in an odd row or an even row? And eventually you'll be taken right to it. Let me tell you a story actually about this. There was a woman that came in to see me once many years ago. She was in her mid-20s, very athletic young woman. And she'd been hospitalized for 5 days with this terrible pain in her abdomen. And they ran every test that they had, and all the tests were negative. And so they dismissed her from the hospital and told her they couldn't help her. So she came in to see me, and she's about a 9 on a 0 to 10 scale of pain. And so I thought, okay, well, let's see what's going on. And so using the body code, using this information, I was able to ask some questions, and I found a few imbalances going on. She had some emotional energies trapped in the body, and I cleared those. And then one of the things that I found that I thought was just an incidental finding was that she needed chromium. And chromium is an element that's used by the body, especially for blood sugar maintenance and so on. And so I just thought, okay, this is an incidental finding. And I told her, I said, we normally carry chromium. We're out of it. I think you should get some at some point. Didn't think anything else about it. Well, she's still out of pain, but I couldn't find anything else to work on. And so she goes home, and then she's my first patient the next morning. And now she's about a 10.5. And I remember thinking, okay, they must have missed this in the hospital. I don't know what's going on with her, but I can't believe that they missed it. It's got to be really serious. So I didn't know what else to do. So I started testing using what we now call the body code. And out of all the thousands of possibilities, her subconscious mind took me to this table of nutrients and took me right to chromium. And only then did I remember, oh, wait a minute, right, this showed up yesterday. And I said, you know what? I don't know why, but I said, I think your body really needs chromium. I said, I don't know why, but I want you to leave my office right now, go down the street to the health food store, buy some chromium tablets, ask them for water, and go ahead and take some right there, and then come back. 20 minutes later, Marianne, this very athletic young woman is literally jumping up and down in my waiting room. And she's saying, I'm fixed. I'm fixed. She was so excited. And then she said the moment that she took the chromium tablets, the pain just instantly vanished. Now, this is pain that it had her in the hospital for 5 days, right? That had exhausted all the medical tests. And she said, how did that work? And I said, well, I have no idea. But I said, the beautiful thing about this is that your body, your subconscious mind knew that you needed that. And that need was manifesting as this pain. And luckily, I was able to ask the questions and listen to what your subconscious mind was saying. And so you could address that need. Well, if you extrapolate that out to all the billions of people in the world, everybody's got something going on, right? We all have imbalances of one kind or another. We might have misalignments. We might have emotional baggage or trauma. We might have toxins or nutritional deficiencies, or we might have pathogens in the body, or who knows. But anyway, luckily now we have a way that we can ask questions of the subconscious mind, and it can tell us exactly what we need. So we don't have to have any more guesswork. We don't have to guess if you need vitamin C or vitamin E or vitamin D or whatever it might be, or if you've got any of those other things going on, you can ask and it will tell you. So we're on the verge of a whole new way of taking care of ourselves because of this.
I find that so exciting. I know a lot of people have been talking about, working with our subconscious as a way to improve our health, but there's kind of a disconnect when it comes to the talk of it and the how-to of it.
Well, right. The beautiful thing about the body code is that it's just so simple, really. Kids are learning how to do it. It's so easy. It's the subconscious mind is just this binary computer, and it's really kind of like it's a search engine, really. So, like Google or Bing or one of those, you can ask questions, and as long as the answer can manifest on the physical body with either strength or weakness, you can ask any question that you want, and it will tell you. The subconscious mind is very, very interested in giving up its answers.
You talk about how at the time of writing this book, you had over 10,000 stories of people have used this method.
Yes, we have. I don't even know how many we have now. That was a couple of years ago. We had 10,000, and we get new stories in all the time. We certify people in these methods of healing, but they're designed for people to use on themselves and their friends and their family members. And you don't have to become certified to use these methods. We provide a pathway for certification for people if they want to really learn it and really own it, and also if they want to actually do it for a business, they can do that. And we've certified over 10,000 people now in over 80 countries around the world. And so this is real. We're living in this fascinating time where we're really waking up. I think the consciousness of the world is expanding a little bit every day, like a balloon, getting a little bigger every day. And people are waking up to the realities about who we really are. It's been a mystery, really. Where were we before we came here, and what are we doing here, and what are our bodies capable of? Well, Albert Einstein and his contemporaries, they started telling us over 100 years ago that our bodies are really just made of energy. To us, our bodies are physical and solid, and we have weight and so on. But really, some quantum physicists made a statement a couple of years ago. They said that if you could remove all the empty space between everybody's atoms on Earth, you could put all 7.8 billion people in the world into a box the size of a sugar cube, and you'd still have a lot of room left over. So that's the reality of our existence, and we're finally waking up to that. Doctors and scientists of all kinds for many, many years have said that the future of healing is going to be energy medicine. Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy and frequency and vibration. And that's what these bodies of ours are, even though they seem so solid to us and so three-dimensional. And they are solid and they are three-dimensional, but on another level, they're really a force field more than anything else. I mean, if you take a bright enough light and shine it on the body, your bones will make shadows. And they call that X-ray, which is just a form of light, right? I mean, it's really so interesting. The truth about who we are, we're finally waking up to that. And it's really quantum physics, I think, really has a lot to do with that, because we're understanding how we affect our reality by the things that we expect and the things that we believe and the things that we want to have happen. And health is one of those things. Healing can happen instantaneously. I've seen it happen and I've experienced it myself. So healing is something that doesn't have to take a long time. It can happen right away.
I think for a lot of people, that's pretty remarkable, considering usually when you hear people going through some type of illness, it's usually said, at least the ones I've heard about, have an onset that seems to be long.
Right. Yeah. Well, sometimes it takes years, sometimes decades for us to lose our health. And so it can take time for us to regain our health. Sometimes it can be just a really, really simple thing. I remember, I think this is one of the stories I put in the book, actually. This woman came into me one day. She had hurt her back lifting one of her kids. And she told me at the time, she also was dealing with a migraine that she'd had for 2 weeks with no break. She said that she had migraines pretty much every day for, I can't even remember now, I think like 20 years. And she said that she had just taken medication and she'd seen doctors for the migraines, and all of them had told her the same thing. Well, these are migraines. We don't know what causes these. All you can do is take these drugs and try to deal with the pain. And so she had. And so as I was examining her, being a doctor of chiropractic, that's what I did. I found she had a bone that was misaligned right at the base of her skull, and told her about it and asked her if we could realign that bone. And I did. And instantly the migraine was gone. And she just couldn't believe it. And she looked a little baffled, but was glad it was gone. Well, so anyway, she came back into me a bit later, and she was upset. I mean, visibly upset. Not that she was mad at me, but she wasn't. And I talked to her, and she said that she was angry because she hadn't had a migraine at all, or a headache of any kind, since I'd worked on her. I think it'd been about 5 or 6 days. And that was the most she'd ever gone without having a migraine. She had them almost every day. And she said that she was mad because she had seen all these doctors during all those years, and not one of them told her that there might be an underlying cause of her migraines. And they'd all just given her drugs and told her there's nothing you can do. And she said they should have known. And she was mad because she had lost so much time. She said, I can't even tell you how much time I've spent in dark rooms with the shades drawn, just trying to deal with this horrific pain. She said, I'm never going to get that time back. And so she was mad. But, that kind of thing happens all the time. And so, Western medicine, don't get me wrong, I have great respect for Western medicine. I think that it's phenomenal for acute problems. If you get in some kind of an accident and your leg now is no longer attached to your body, well, if you take your leg to the hospital, they can probably reattach it, which is kind of unbelievable. They can do amazing, miraculous things, especially for acute problems. But, most of the time, most people don't need dramatic intervention. Most of the time, most people need to figure out what their underlying problems are. Most people don't need a drug. Most people don't need some kind of surgery. And that's really all that Western medicine has to offer, is drugs or surgery. And if most people don't need drugs and they don't need surgery, what do they need? Well, they need to figure out what the underlying imbalances are that are causing their symptoms. And if they can figure out what those are and fix those, then the symptoms no longer have a reason to be there. And voila, they feel better. And that's the future. That's how we're going to be taking care of ourselves in the future. There's just no question about it. Cat's out of the bag, Marianne.
Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. What is one of the main things that people come to see you for?
Well, I've been out of practice. I retired in 2004. I just travel around the world and teach and do interviews and so on. Back when I was when I was in practice, it was really a wide gamut of people and problems that were coming in to see me. I saw a lot of people with chronic problems like fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, and saw a lot of people with, autoimmune problems and infertility and digestive problems and asthma and things that are kind of deemed hopeless in Western medicine in a lot of cases. But the reality of it is, when you address the underlying reasons, a great example is infertility, right? The last 3 women that I have really worked on for this, and this might sound really crazy, they all had multiples. One of them had triplets. The other one, actually a niece of mine, had triplets, but one didn't make it. So she ended up having twins. But the underlying, if you think just about fertility, okay, well, I'm a chiropractor. What am I doing working on people with infertility? But what I had figured out was how you can ask questions of the subconscious and get answers about whatever's going on. And so when women would come to see me for infertility, I would find things like, well, maybe they had a deficiency in vitamin E, or maybe they had some kind of an imbalance. Maybe there was emotional baggage that was preventing their subconscious mind from being okay with getting pregnant or with going full term, with having a child. Maybe there was misalignment in the spine, for example, somewhere, or maybe even the uterus itself would be out of alignment. I mean, lots of different things can go on. And so that's just one example. Speaking of infertility, another thing that we found, and really this has to do with, it has to do with prayer. When I was in practice, for me to go into the healing arts was really an answer to prayer. I mean, a direct answer to prayer. And I actually heard a voice that spoke to me and it said, this is a sacred calling. And that story is actually in the Body Code book. Well, we have a daughter, Lizzie, who's 23. And when my wife was pregnant with her, she was really suffering with morning sickness and she was begging me to help her. And I was thinking of all the things that I had ever tried for patients that had been morning sick. And I realized, none of those things really work very well. And so I prayed and I said, Father in heaven, if there's a better way to deal with this, help me to understand it, because none of these other things really work. And I got this answer that flowed into me. And the answer was almost whimsical. The answer was, well, you'd feel pretty sick too if you had this new life growing inside of you, especially if your brain wasn't connected to it. And so that was the answer. And so I tested my wife and found there were some disconnections between her brain and the fetus. I was able to reconnect those. And immediately the morning sickness disappeared. That was something that was really needed. So I started working with other women. And we have practitioners now who specialize just in this one thing, in fixing morning sickness, if you can believe, in different parts of the world.
Well, Dr. Nelson, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
I have my own personal site. Is it drbradleynelson.com? That's drbradleynelson.com.
Doctor, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you, Marianne. That was really fun to connect.
Well, thank you, Dr. Bradley Nelson. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, The Body Code. On that note, we're going to pause here for a quick moment, and we'll be right back after these messages.
The book Terminal Cancer is a Misdiagnosis, authored by Danny Carroll, is on sale at Amazon now. Licensed psychologist and psychotherapist Tessa Antia-John-Guerra commented, "This is one of the most empowering books on the topic of cancer you will ever read." Award-winning author T.L. Needham commented, "This recommended book can be understood by anyone seeking answers, hope, and alternatives to a terminal diagnosis. Buy it now on Amazon.com.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Are you feeling disconnected from your life and your body as a woman? Do you feel numb emotionally and/or sexually and just not sure how to feel really alive again, or maybe for the first time? Are you struggling with body and self-acceptance, especially during menopause? If you'd like to reclaim your feminine and learn more about woman and gynecology and how it can help empower your life, contact Gina Cloud at www.ginacloud.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.